It's Thursday, it's 8 o'clock, and it's the Big Detective Show. Hi, Adrian.
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Bit
Dave's
chilly, isn't it?
Have you changed your medication?
No, it's just a bit cold.
Oh, yeah. I like the eyes. Oh.
Sorry. Ricardo said I had to do it.
I thought it was a real penguin. Oh, I need to get a badger one, don't I? Talking of,
We've got badger ones.
No, like full head one, and just lay in
like
the bush in the field. Yeah.
Do you want to see the other one? Do you want to see my other mask? Ricardo told me how to put that one on.
Has it got a ball that goes in your mouth?
It's close. Hold on. Plague
That's
Doctor mask.
it's that's got a name, isn't it? People
Plague
who dress
Doctor.
up like
Plague
no. They
Weirdo.
go up north. No, they're like gothics, but they have steampunk. You heard of steampunk?
Never heard of
Google
that.
it. Google it.
I've
Someone
heard of
will know about it.
steampunk. My front room's all steampunk.
Oh, right. Yes. So, are you all right then?
Do you know what? Tonight's guest is bound to have a story about plague doctors. I'll guarantee it.
Yes.
He's laughing in the background because I'm right.
That'd be quite interesting. Make a note of that. Yeah, it's been a busy week, and you've bit of sad news, obviously, with the earthquake in Turkey. Our thoughts go out to everyone there.
With Turkey, we hope obviously our friends and contacts over in Turkey. I know a lot of them are quite far away, but you know, there's North Syria and the southeast of Turkey. It's pretty darn terrible.
Yeah, and I think obviously Nocta, who make many metal detectors over which we use, I think they're safe because they're up in the north of Turkey.
Istanbul,
yeah, I don't think that'll affect any production issues or anything, but obviously the country's in a bit of a mess at the moment, so very sad. But I was awoken, I told you this morning, by an earthquake, wasn't I?
Yes, you were. Well, allegedly.
Well, I was.
Well, you're saying earthquake. I'm saying Mrs. Gaylor's fancy man getting out of a cupboard while you were asleep.
Well, it started.
That's not what me to say.
And yes, Eagle Eye DJ, Southwood and Ferries. It was actually Bickmaker Eagle Eye DJ, which is just up the road from me, and it was 8 kilometres deep in the core of the earth, and it was 2.4 on the Richter scale. And I was laying in bed this morning, and at 5 o'clock, the wardrobe started banging against the wall. I'm like, I woke up, looked at it, looked at my wife. Wife looked at me and went, huh? Oh. And went back to sleep. And as I was going back to sleep, I thought it must have been an earthquake. Mm-hmm. And woke up this morning, and my phone, did I send you the picture? No. I've never had this before. Went to Google on my phone to look at the news and stuff, and an alert popped up and said, did you feel a tremor this morning? Yes or no? And I put yes. It said, thank you. And then it was recorded, and we had a mini earthquake. Nothing like what in Turkey, but earthquakes in Essex? What's going on? Oh, I don't know. But yeah.
Fracking.
No, I don't think it's that. I don't do any fracking in me. Well, something like that. But and then there was this week. At the weekend you went metal detecting, didn't you, with a group of people?
Boom. Yes, we'll be talking about that on next week's show. Went on a ministry detect jig with all the people I go detecting with. Met Ange and Derek, not Dennis Sherwin. Had a nice chat with them. Ange sent me some cake. Gave you a phone call, got screenshots because you were just getting out of the shower as I rang you and you had no clothes on, which was
I didn't know it was a video call. Yeah, did you really screenshot it? Oh,
yeah, I'll send you the pictures.
No, thanks. I think if I get caught with pictures of myself semi-naked on the phone, that's even more worrying. But because I thought I actually was detecting on the Saturday and messaged you saying hello to everyone, and you went, it's tomorrow. So,
well, Adrian, 2 times out, there's 2 silvers on the run.
Yes,
technically 4 silvers last week, but 2 days detecting 2 tech silvers.
That Vanquish is, I've always said it is a very good machine, and
it's on fire. It's on fire.
Yeah,
and I stood there and the ship failed, and I shouted at everybody with a Minelab Equinox how poor quality they were and how they couldn't use metal detectors and they didn't stand up to the Vanquish.
Yeah.
But talking of machines, and again, something I think we'll talk about a little bit more next week, there was a video or 2 videos that came out from China this week, which we released on the Archaeology and Metal Detecting magazine website yesterday, of a potential new Minelab machine, which me and you are very excited about. Me because it was my previous favorite machine, and you because you know about metal detectors. Yes.
Should we tell them what it is?
Why not?
It's the Xterra Pro. Now,
allegedly.
Well, this hasn't been announced by Minelab. However, when the Manticore was launched, there was an accidental image on their website of I think it's a V12 Pro or something coil, which looks like the Vanquish coil, and it got taken down. This coil is the one that's used on the Xterra Pro, and in the videos it shows that it's pretty much like an Equinox, but it's got a square shaft like the Vanquish, so your coil doesn't spin around, it stays straight. It's not multi-frequency. It's, I think, 5 hertz, 10 hertz, 15 hertz. This isn't definite, but it's a bit of a funny color, sort of a limey color, but it's got an adjustable arm handle. It's foldable. It's just like an Equinox, but it's got some nice little features, and I don't know the price, but it looks, if you don't want to go multi-frequency or you're new to the hobby, I don't know how much the price is. It's a potential good little machine because it's Minelab. It's going to work. But yeah, that was leaked on China. Now people are saying it's Chinese fake, it's Chinese copy. Me and Dave don't think that's the case, do we, Dave? Based on things we've heard. And it was, China's a very popular market for metal detecting, and I think Minelab potentially just thought they'd launch it there because we're all busy running around jumping over the new Equinoxes and the Manticores. So it'll be interesting. You put the video up. Oh yeah.
Why not?
Go on, make it big. Oh,
大家好，我是新鸿科技的君君。今天呢，给大家介绍一下这款魅宝的新款终端机型插贴啊。机器已经组装好了，我们接下来开机看一下里面有些什么功能啊。跟600一样啊，侧边这边上面的是开关机键，这个是屏幕背景光灯，这边是蓝牙开关。首先我们开机。
I don't know.
I don't think we've got many Chinese people. Left. That's it. So people saying this is a fake. If it is a fake, they've really gone to town. I can't see any spelling mistakes. The interface looks like it's Minelab. The box, in another video, you see the box opening and unboxing. But it's, if she shows you, is she going to get the shaft going up and down? Yeah, towards the end, I think it is, isn't it? This is on the Archaeological and Metal Detecting magazine.
Archaeology and...
Sorry, Archaeology.
Archmdmag.com.
Yeah, archmdmag.com. So there's the coil. Lovely little size. And this is what I like. The shaft. It's nice and square. Aluminium. Looks a nice little rugged machine. And I don't think she folds it up. But yeah, so probably get taken to court. There you go. But yeah, we might see it. We might not. We might not even ever see it. Might be only for the Chinese market. But yeah, this video is all right.
Hello， 大家好，我是新鸿科技的君君。今天呢，给大家介绍一款密宝的新款的终端机型啊，就是密宝的插贴。
Yeah, that better.
Yeah. And look, there's the handbook. There's even the Allen key. All the little things that Minelab, you know. So I'll be interested in what people think, but. It does look, I don't know, just gone for a funky sort of, maybe it's only China and has it in green. I don't know. But it's almost like a big boy Vanquish, but not multi-frequency, but rechargeable batteries as opposed to things. But yeah, got a little bit excited, got me excited because
it did indeed.
You like the Xterra, don't you? So, well, yeah, you have liked it, and I think it's a good little machine. And there's still a lot of people using them. So, yeah, that'd be quite interesting.
Right, we've got another little advert to play now. The advert for the new book of tonight's guest, and as soon as that's over, we will bring him on. A good friend of mine, Mr. Mark Olly. So we will see you momentarily.
Imagine the most popular heroic story ever written, one which spans 3 millennia and goes to the very heart of the largest religion in the world, but which has now almost entirely devolved into myth. Ignored and avoided by the establishment, shunned and unexplored by archaeologists and historians, consigned to the back rooms of academic study. Yet everyone knows the characters and the plot, the tales of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. But no one knows the reality. Or do they? Suppose everything you thought you knew about King Arthur was invented by an invading foreign power, unsympathetic to the truth, and seeking to subvert and overthrow a long and ancient existing regime. Suppose the incredible truth was a story so strong and so mysterious that it could support an entire nation through its truly darkest hours and, perhaps, reinvent that same nation for a new millennium. Here at last is what survives of that ancient truth. This is real history and archaeology, not just the invention of creative minds, and it reveals incidents and characters as they really were. If you want the whole truth about Arthur, the Holy Grail, Camelot, Excalibur, the Round Table, heroic knights, Guinevere, the matter of Britain and where this all took place, this popular and easy to read Polychronicon is the book for you. Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph, and Arthur. Available now from Amazon and Flying Disc Press.
And the
Hi,
gift
Mark.
of Santa keeps on giving. Good evening, Mr. Olly. How are we?
Good evening, folks. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I'm just enjoying all the rock music that's on the adverts. Oh, dearie me. Yeah.
That's the free stuff we get with bloody video making stuff.
Oh.
How the devil are we?
I'm not so bad. The devil's all right as well. Last time I asked him. That advert's great, isn't it? It's got everything in it. I mean, I don't really know how I can follow that. You know, it's...
Don't need to
Right.
buy it.
So that's it then. Good night.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Good night, that's it.
Those who don't, you've been on the show a few times, Mark.
Yeah.
It might be worth you introducing yourself because you've got a list as long as your arm of skills. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm to metal detector people. I'm the friendly archaeologist. I mean, it's what happens when worlds collide. I mean, I started off as an archaeologist. I met Dave when I was doing archaeology, but I've always been sympathetic to technology and to metal detectors, etc. And I always have this belief that when worlds collide, things happen. So this is worlds colliding. I mean, this is, what the hell is a UFO guy doing publishing a King Arthur book? So that's what happens when worlds collide. So I'm about that. That's why I do television, I do films, I do books, I do all that sort of thing. Music, I'm in a band, I'm in a rock band. The last one I've done, actually, this is a quick plug. If you get a chance to see the new series of Ancient Aliens, I'm on that as well. So I'm back on TV again. I do the ancient bit, and of course, people like Giorgio and Eric do the aliens bit. But hey, it's TV again. So that's kind of what I do. I do things like that. I kind of bring things together. But I was just thinking when I was watching the advert, it's fantastic, isn't it? Here I am on a metal detecting show as an archaeologist who's not supposed to approve of things like that, pushing a book about King Arthur who is not supposed to exist, published by a guy that does UFOs. What's not to like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because we had the head of the Portable Antiquities Museum scheme on about a month ago, and that was rare, wasn't it, Dave? Having him on the show and talking to us. So and that went quite interestingly well. So yeah, maybe things are turning. It's
just amazing when worlds collide. I mean, the thing with the UFO thing was, I mean, I've tried to get publishing for this book. I mean, it took 40 years to write it, so it took me about 5 years to get it into print. Most publishers were like, well, we can't put this out. It's just, it's too radical. There's too many things in there that are too different. We're going to lose our careers if we put this out. And then all of a sudden, the penny drop. If you're putting stuff about flying saucers, if you're talking about little green men coming down on the White House lawn, King Arthur's a walk in the park. It's absolute breeze. And lo and behold, good old Philip Mantle took it on. What a great guy. Absolutely fantastic. I believe he's coming on at some point. So, yeah, please say hi from me. He's a great guy. You're going to love it. Absolutely love it. He's got, from an archaeological point of view, anybody that's got physical evidence of alien intervention, whoa, that's something to be appreciated.
Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Ooh.
So we'll get onto the book in a minute, but I'm interested.
Okay.
You're saying it's taken 40 years to write. Obviously, you were writing that on paper with pen or typewriter before computers came along. So
Yeah.
how the hell did you get all that off of hard copy onto digital? Did they? How did that? Because people don't often realise this. With books,
no, it started off. I mean, I started in 1977. I wrote a film script for an 8mm film when I was a teenager. So that's when I started the research. Started building up piles and piles of books, making loads of notes, hand wrote the script. You know, the whole 9 yards. Old tech, very old tech. Then I got a BBC computer, so I'll type this up. You know what I mean? And then of course that's gone. You know, it's obsolete. So we moved on to an Amstrad. I think I had a PCW 8296 or something, one of these things with 2 drives in it. So very quickly I filled a couple of these useless discs because nobody can read them now. And then there was a point at which you could transfer the contents of those discs over to Windows. You could get the data transferred. You can't now. I mean, Amstrad's just obsolete. So I got it transferred onto something like a Windows laptop, Windows 3.0 or something right at the beginning. And I have since then seen off at least 7 of those Windows compatible machines.
Yeah, crikey, that's what I was wondering. It's a hell of a feat, you know, to keep all that information together and then finally get to a point.
Yeah, well, the last sort of revision, if you like, was when Philip said, "Oh, you know, I'm mildly interested in this book. You know, what can you do?" So I'm going to land this. I'm going to put it into his format and send it him finished. So that last, you know, jump over that last hurdle took 55 hours over 4 days to build the book from scratch. And I literally started at page 1 and went for it, and all the photos went in, all the layouts went in, everything. I think I found one really bad mistake in the whole thing just to do with layout. So, you know, I mean, but when you've had that long to work at something, but that's kind of how it happened. So that last big push to get it to a stage where it could go to PDF and then onto Amazon so people can get it. There's a plug. That's where you get it from. That last push was 55 hours. Oh, yeah, look at that. Don't you love technology? I'm loving that.
So I don't know if people can scan it from here.
Let's just put Adrian up a little bit. There you go.
There it is.
There's the boot there. But if you would like to scan the code, just open your camera and look at that thing.
QR code.
QR, that's the word, QR code. And it should take you straight to Amazon, where I believe it's £30 hardback and £22 paperback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the hardback's the sexiest thing you've ever seen. That's what that is. That's the hardback, and that is a monster. There's even space at the top of the pages. You can write notes and all sorts. So that, I mean, we don't get as much money off the hardbacks, but I actually love the hardback. So I would say, certainly if you're buying it as a gift for anyone, get the hardback rather than the paperback. If you're going to use it as an actual, you know, I'm going to go around Wales and visit all these sites. I'm going to go around, you know, Scotland and Lancashire and all these different places. Get the hardback one, because then it really is the business. But, you know, I don't care. Paperback, anything, just go and buy it. You've got to love technology, though, haven't you? I mean, you can scan a QR code now and you can just go, I've paid for it, you know, 3 or 4 days later.
Be here tomorrow or whatever, Yeah, it is amazing. I could have put the wrong one up there, couldn't I, for a laugh? I could have put like a new subscription to Razzle or something like that. But,
you can also get it on Kindle as well. You can get it for free if you're a Kindle registered user or whatever. You know, it's about £9 for the Kindle book as well, which is cheap as chips.
Yeah, 488 pages, a couple of hundred illustrations, photographs, maps. It's the whole 9 yards. I just counted, actually, there's 250 source documents at the end of it. So it tells you where you can go from there, so you can go online and find more stuff, you know.
Wow.
It's a bit of a beast. It is a bit of a beast.
We haven't actually said what it's about, Dave.
So it's called the Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph, and Arthur.
Okay.
Right.
You want to know what a Polychronicon is?
First question. Yeah. Adrian said to me before the show, Dave, what's a Polychronicon? I went, I'm going to let Mark tell you.
Yeah. I just like,
Basically, it's a history written in chronological order. It's that simple. So it starts at the beginning and finishes at the end, and it's all in date order. So it's just written like you would write a diary, or you would write sort of the history. The original one was the history of the world. I mean, there's a guy, Ranulph Higdon of Chester, did it originally in 1320 something, and he did the first Polychronicon, and he did a history of the world. So I'm like, wow, what a guy! I wouldn't try that. And he actually covered a section of his Polychronicon on Arthur. So I just thought, I mean, apart from anything else, where else do you find a book title for an Arthur book that hasn't already been taken? Because they're banging them out at the rate of about 300 a year worldwide, books on Arthur. So I thought, nobody else is going to use that. I'm having that. So that's been with it for quite a while. It's always been the Polychronicon. But again, it's another plug, isn't it? If you want to know what's going on and you want to know when, you just go to the left-hand side of the page, and it's all the dates are there. It's all in date order. Absolute doddle. I mean, it's dead easy for an ordinary person to read. It's not overcomplicated.
Could we have a sneak peek of 2 pages for free?
Let's have a quick look and see.
It might cost us 20p or something.
Yeah, let's try.
What a beard! What a beautiful beard!
Oh, look at this. Right, okay. If I kind of show you what's going on here, you see that's kind of where it's at, and you'll notice I've got to go on this side. I want it to reverse. See there in black, there's a date.
Yeah.
That, and then the one below it, those dates are in chronological order. So you can, and on the other side as well, that you'll see paragraphs have got, that one's got a black date on it. The one below it again, that one has got a black date on it as well. So you can follow those dates, and you can go to different time periods, and you can follow them, and maps and photos and locations and things like that. They're all at the relevant point, and like the entire. I'll just pick another one at random. The entire book's like that, Actually, I picked one there that hasn't got dates on it, but it will be in date order. It's all there. That's how it works. It's that simple.
And then you've been lecturing and doing talks about Arthur and Merlin and everything related to that for a number of years now, haven't you? So your content that you've spoke about, I take it's going to be within the book as well.
Yeah, if anybody's ever seen me do the Arthur talk, I've got 3 of them. They last about an hour each. The first and second one I've been running for a very long time, more than 10 years, maybe knocking on for 20 years now on the first one. All of that content, everything and more besides, because I can put the background data in there as well. It's all in there, including the famous dig that one Dave Sadler was on, where we found St. Garman's Well near Clonarmon in Wales. That's in there as well. So even extra bits.
There was an inadvertent mistake made by your favourite fat fella, Adrian.
I heard about this.
Yeah,
with a crowbar going, I'm going to move this. And the next day we come back and it was a completely flooded site because I inadvertently found the spring.
One day you're going to write a book on archaeology called One Man and His Pickaxe.
Or Carry On Archaeology. With You could be like the Sid James.
Yeah.
Or Don't Let Dave.
In a way, he did us a favour, because at the end of the day, we might not have cottoned on to the fact that it was a well if it didn't refill. So he just took the end block out and wham, there it was, and it was obvious what it was. So there was no damage.
I've done another inadvertent mistake. It was very, very early in my archaeological days, Adrian. I made another mistake. Everybody disappeared and went for the dinner, and I stayed over the trench, digging away, moving rocks before they were recorded. And got told off very, very badly for removing everything out the hole. But it turned out good. Helpful. It turned out good because the next day the dew had come down, it dried lovely, and Mark realised it was actually the Roman road.
It was, yes. You literally, he took the side off this Roman road, but then at the end of the day, I wouldn't have had the courage to do that. I would have stopped before I went any further into it. But the area he was working in, we did a slot and went through it and realised that this is a Roman road. That was an enormously significant find for the site, to have a Roman road going through the middle. And it also helped to date Garman's Well, and I believe you were the one that found the first and only piece of Roman pottery out of that archaeology. And it turned out to be 3rd or 4th century, very, very late, which dated pretty much the entire thing we were looking at, really. So remember Nigel's book, The Accidental Detectorist? I was the accidental archaeologist.
I do think we should do a carry on archaeology.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Just got a quick question in the chat.
Fire away. Yeah, fire away.
Is there an audio book of your book? I know it'd be quite hard because there's pictures and illustrations, but
well, it's more to do with the length of the book, and it's full of things, that are written in Welsh and Latin. And I mean, not that you can't read because all the translations are in there, but the pronunciation's going to be murder. But the answer is yes, there will be. I believe as of sort of the end of this month, there's going to be an audio version of it. So yes, there will be. The trick is to keep an eye out for that one. So it's
I think I'm right in saying that Flying Disc Press, Philamantle's the publisher of the book, have got an Audible presence, so I'm pretty sure that I've seen that it's going to be going on there in the near future, and I know it's going to probably be expensive, the amount it will, but I'll wait for my monthly free credit and get it on that.
Yeah, it's I do that. I cancel it, and then 3 months later I get like 8 credits or something. But yeah, Audible's good because you can listen to it in the car. So if you're stuck in traffic, I'll probably look at that because I have got a lot of books like Dave, and I lose them.
Well, I'm going to say, really, if you've got something physically in front of you, though, it's kind of a reference book. So it's a bit like, it's going to end up being a dictionary of King Arthur if you do it audio-wise. And you're going to be like, what was on page 243, line 25? What was that all about? Because you might want to go back and reference it. And again, it's a practical book. I mean, it'll tell you where things are. So if you're going round, you might want to make notes at the top of the pages and make comments and things like that. So yes, it'll be brilliant as an audio book, but I expect anyone that gets it as an audio will probably end up eventually biting the bullet and buying it in hard copy because it's that kind of book, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out in audio. Absolutely.
Well, I think it's very like we had Hugh Newman on the show a while ago. We had the Giants of Stonehenge in ancient Britain, and we've also had Treasures of the Ancient from Tim Draper in the USA. Yeah. And where they've both got the content like yours, it's also can act as a guidebook as well, where you can follow it. Remember, you were, Adrian, talking to Hugh and saying how you'd like to follow the information about the giants in your area, so it acts as a guidebook, and much like that, it sounds like the Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph, and Arthur is going to be not dissimilar. Can I ask, Mark, why aren't the names in alphabetical order? Because it's doing my OCD and big time.
Well, when you get the book, they're actually the chapter headings. So, like the first chapter is Merlin, the next one's Joseph, the next one's Arthur. Then you get Beyond Arthur, and then at the end you get the legend. Those are the 5 chapters. Now, the reason for that is Merlin is the last of the Druids, and the Druids come first. So you need to know that information first. Then you get the advent of Christianity. So then you get Joseph of Arimathea and the Holy Grail. So that's next in line. So by the time you get to chapter 3, which is Arthur, you've already got the background to the entire of the Grail cycle and the whole of the Merlin thing. You've actually got all the background information already because it's in chronological order. And that's kind of what happens when you shuffle it. Then when you get Beyond Arthur, you start to get the missing bit because you get like the Saxons, the Danes, the Vikings, all the bit that nobody ever comments on, which is really important because then that gets you to the last bit, the legend, which is when they start with all the medieval nonsense and, all the other stuff that the Normans did. That all kind of comes at the end. So because it's written in chronological order, it does kind of jumble things up. But then once you see the book, it kind of makes sense, if you know what I mean. I mean, I suffer from OCD, and quite a lot of other people out there do. And they've said, 1 or 2 folks have said, it's written in a style that if you've got that kind of a mentality, if that's the way you approach something, actually it makes perfect sense to have it in date order. Once you get hold of it, you know what I mean? If you're ADHD, ODD, whatever, whatever your initials are, you'll cope with it. It's not a difficult book. It unravels all the academic twaddle that's been piled on top of it. It decodes things for you, and it does flow. It flows in a very sensible way.
We like to throw questions in off people. Is it under a stream in London? Well, that's bound to come out.
No, that's the Holy Grail. That's another story. Yeah.
I'm going to blow it here because I can tell you exactly where it is. It's actually in. There's 2 of them. There's the Cup of Christ and the Cup of the Apostles. They're in a couple of churches in Spain. And the reason I know that is that in 2012 up to about 2014, a couple of Spanish researchers went over to the Middle East, found a whole shed load of Islamic receipts. And these Islamic shipping receipts actually tell you that the Templars, who are there referred to as Rumini, these Rumini knights, took both of these cups and brought them to Spain. So you can trace them. So physically, if you want to know where they are physically, that's decoded. But I've got 27 different grails in the book. So again, it depends on your definition of the Holy Grail. Anything associated with the Last Supper and anything associated with the crucifixion and the burial of Jesus, either of those categories qualifies as a grail. So you've got crown of thorns, swords, nails, robe, platters, cups, bowls, jugs, you name it, even embalming containers, for ointments and oils and stuff like that. Anything associated with those two occurrences seem to qualify as an Arthurian period grail. It's something they can go off and search for, But literal definition, the grail, which is the sangreal or the sangral, which is Viking. Sang means the in capital letters, and graal, it comes from the same word as gruel. It's a bowl that serves an assembled company in a way that keeps them alive. That goes all the way back to the Bronze Age. So if you've got something grain-based, which in the case of the disciples was bread, but in the Vikings it's porridge, and if you're dealing with red wine, because that's the other ingredient, so you're flavouring it with wine or you're drinking wine with it, that by literal definition is a grail. So for example, what he's just drunk now,
magic.
If that chalice was used in communion in a church, then it's by definition it's a grail. That's what it is. It's not the grail. It's not sangral. If you want the sangral, you have to resort to these shipping receipts and go off to Spain and visit them. I'm not even going to tell you what they are because you have to buy the book.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what, it's a good job you don't live near me, Mark, because if I bumped into you in the pub, I think I've been there for a long time.
Been there, done that.
And I'd probably, you'd have a pint and I'd probably drink about 8 listening to you.
We've got another question from Paul B. Does the book focus on any of the stories that come out of Brittany in respect of Arthur?
Well, bizarrely, the answer is yes. They do. There's a lot of stuff going on in Brittany, and France in general, but Brittany specifically. There's a particular story there where you've got the Knights of Salroche, which is Salt Rock, and the Knights of Salroche follow from Uther Pendragon and on from Uther Ambrosius, his brother. They follow on from those two brothers who had a military campaign over there. And bizarrely, that's where Guinevere comes into not Guinevere, sorry, that's where Uther's wife, Aegea, which is Arthur's mum, comes from. She comes from northern France. She's actually sent over by one of the kings of northern France, initially to marry Ambrosius, but she ends up marrying Uther. That story is a Breton story. It's a Breton legend. It comes out of a Spanish book called Tirant le Blanc, which is Tirant the White. It's all about knights. When you read that book, it actually gives you the legend of Salt Rock, and it's a Brittany legend. So the answer is yes. There's tons in there. There's more than that. There's quite a few. So it's worth having a look if you're interested in that. Yeah, absolutely.
Another question from Philip Wells. What date were the shipping receipts from?
They actually exist from the First Crusade. So that's going to be, 1099 was when they took Jerusalem. They're from about 1123 to 1127. And one of the shipping receipts is interesting because Saladin gets wind of it. And he says, can I have a scraping off the rim? Because I think his daughter was ill. So can you send me this scraping off the rim to heal my daughter? So he gets that. The cups disappear off. And lo and behold, if one of these cups doesn't have that rim scraping on it, it's there. So it's got a pretty solid historical, contextual thing going on there. It's not twaddle, is what I'm trying to say. It's proper.
Will Way says, Mark, it's been found by the DMDC, mate. Detectorist Christmas special.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Pendragon. I've also, in my library, which probably isn't as big as yours by far, Another one of our old friends have got one of his books, well, two actually. Pendragon, The Origin of Arthur by Scott
Lloyd
and
Scott Lloyd and Steve Blake.
Yeah,
Scott
and
Lloyd
the Keys
Steve
of
Blake.
Avalon as well.
Yeah.
He actually gave me that for free out the boot of his car on one of the digs.
Yeah, I was quite involved, as you know. I'm quite involved with Scott and Steve. I back in the day, I took a few of the photos that are in that book, and they realised that Wales was bigger than the Wales of today. So when they came across to have a look at things like Derbyshire, Cheshire, Lancashire, Shropshire, when they were looking at that, that's my area. I don't know a sack of beans about Wales in that respect, and I don't speak Welsh, but they do. So they actually helped me a great deal, huge amount. I've got to give them credit during the years that they were doing that. So I think the first book came out in 1999. So it's 1990s. Hence the fact it took so long for me to do mine. So there's a lot of their information that feeds in as background information. They did quite a bit of legwork. There's a hell of a lot of other legwork in there. But yeah, those books are recommended reading. They're in the bibliography for mine. If you want to know where that's coming from, go and get those two. They wrote a third one, actually. It was called The Keys to the Grail, but it was never published because Element went bust. So there's a third one out there, and Scott's got no inclination to do it now because things have moved on. It's been superseded by further research and further development. So they actually wanted to tackle that. I'm guessing the fact that this other book was translated out of Spanish and came out with these shipping receipts and stuff. It's a biblical thing. That's my speciality because I did a fair bit of training in biblical stuff without giving too much away. And that's probably where I'm going to go next. I'll go and have a look at that as a subject. But that's where the Grail is. That's where that subject matter goes. The Welsh Grail is quite different, actually, because Joseph of Arimathea brought two containers, one with the blood of Christ and one with the sweat of Christ. Those are the Welsh Grails. He brought those to Wales when he came over here in 52 AD. So he brought those with him. So that's a different Grail altogether. That's the character on the front cover in blue. That's you see, with these two Grails.
Was that the time frame which he set foot on Wirral Hill, which could either be Glastonbury or could be Bidston Hill?
It's in the book. I go with Bidston Hill because it makes no sense. Glastonbury's no sense whatsoever.
I've always said that.
Yeah, and if you start to piece that together, that makes more sense. Yeah, about 52 AD, he sets foot there. By 54 to 56, he's in North Wales. The North Welsh King Crudels grabbed him because he doesn't know who the hell he is. But eventually he finds out who he is. Then he releases them and they get to build the circular church, which in my view is Vallecrucis Abbey. That's where that is.
That's Llangollen. Alien. Beautiful.
And there's a
place,
whole ruck of stories there, surrounding that site. Which I won't go into too much detail because the book's got a lot in it, but there's more to that. Maybe save that for another day.
Scan the QR code if you're watching to get the book. We've got another question, Dave, from Ray Livermore.
I'll let you ask that one, Adrian. It's one of them that I won't pronounce.
Right. Ray Livermore says, "What about the church in Portugal, Ermida de Nossa Senhora de Guadalupe?" Was
Guadalupe.
Being the last
Guadalupe.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you say it. We say it different down south.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the church that has the sword in the stone? Or is that the church with the sword in the stone?
Right.
Does he qualify that question?
Right.
What about the church in Portugal? You could just say it's a lovely place to go.
Senhora de Guadalupe.
It could be he just wants to go there on holiday because it's got nice.
It's a very good question, actually. What about the church? Give me a slightly more specific.
Mark?
I'd love to go there on holiday.
John Morris, who's our oldest viewer, well in his 80s, he says Mark is a walking, talking encyclopedia, and Dave Evans says, Mark is blowing my mind with the stuff he knows. Dave, try spending an hour with him.
Once I get going, there's no stopping me, but God. I think the one in Portugal is where they've got a sword stuck in a stone, I think it is. That might be that one. And the sword is supposed to be the inspiration for Excalibur. The only snag for that is, yes, they do have a sword stuck in a stone, but that sword isn't Excalibur. It's got a legend all of its own. And it's not the inspiration for Excalibur, because that sword was stuck in there 700 years after Arthur had already died.
Ray's saying that it was supposed to be the last stronghold of the Templars.
Oh, okay, we're on a different
subject.
Sorry,
I didn't read that bit. Do you think it was?
Well, the last stronghold of the Templars is wherever you want to put them. Did they start Swiss banking? Did they go to Scotland? Where did the Navy end up? Were they on Oak Island? Out in Nova Scotia? Who knows? At the end of the day, the last stand of the Templars was, I believe, in Britain in about 1334. It was the third of the Edwards. It was Edward III that actually quite liked them. But he said, look, lads, I'm going to have to dissolve you. And lo and behold, you get the Knights of the Round Table and you get the Order of the Garter. So all they basically did was rebrand. They never actually went away. The Catholic Church then, a few years after that, absolved them. They just said, we can't find anything wrong with you. We have no reason to get rid of you. So just shuffle off quietly, and disappear. So they all vanished into the woodwork. Lo and behold, we still have Templars now. So it's debatable that they ever actually came to an end. If you just look at the rebranding, they're all over the place. You've got the Knights in every country. Everything from Teutonics through Knights of Lazarus to Fleur de Lis they're all over. So I don't think they ever completely came to an end. So no, I don't think Portugal's the last stand. Actually, was the archive on I think it was Malta. They had the Templar archive on there, which was destroyed by the Ottoman Turks in the 1500s. So that's probably the last stand. But yeah,
thanks for that, Mark. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Exactly, there you go. Completely different. What the hell's that going to do with King Arthur? Yeah, the Templars get a couple of pages in the book, but not to that extent.
Yeah. What in the book? What was without giving too much away, your favourite part of the book, apart from the last page and saying that's done?
Most of it was hard slog, I'll be honest. You're talking about a book here where if you manage to get like a paragraph a year, that was great, because you're digging stuff literally out of obscurity, out of nowhere. The bit where I could let rip, which I really enjoyed doing, was where is he buried? Because where we live up here in Cheshire, we've got the legend of Alderley Edge, which is supposedly where he's buried. And the very famous author, Alan Garner, has the same view, and he puts it into several of his books. I think The Weird Stone of Brisingamen, which is his famous first book, I think it's in there. The Legend of the Sleeping Arthur. Well, he actually did a lot of the background research. He got it all the way back to 1520s. And then I followed that up, and I followed it all the way back to the Welsh source, which is in the 1320s. But it's very plausible for a number of other archaeological reasons, which I won't go into. But I really enjoyed doing that because I could let rip. You know what I mean? I could actually get stuck in and do some proper writing on that and cover it as an issue, because nobody knows where the hell he's buried. That's the reality of it. So it was nice to be able to throw some ideas out there and say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Consider this, So I suppose that's the bit I enjoyed doing. It appears twice, actually, because it's in my other book, Celtic Warrington and Other Mysteries. It's covered in one of those as well, book 3. Dave's got them. He's a star. I know they're 1990s, but hey, they're still available on Amazon. So, the publisher thankfully overprinted them. So there's plenty of them knocking around if you want them. Go to Trinidad Valley and get those.
The Alderley mythology and folklore, Adrian, if you don't know, or for those of you who don't know, basically Alderley Edge is 15 minutes from my house. It's well close. Beautiful place to go. They've got copper mines there and all sorts. The legends suggest that if Britain is ever in a time of crisis, the gates will open of the side of the mountain, and Arthur and all his knights are there in stasis.
And they'll ride out
and save us. That is the legend of Arthur in Alderley.
From COVID.
Well,
Well, you wouldn't have known because we were all locked away in COVID, so he might have been out.
I thought he would have come out and slayed everyone who had COVID to kill the plague. Oh, don't mention plague.
Derek Sherwin, not Dennis, Derek Sherwin, he asks, is there any real evidence of Arthur as a real person? And the book will explain that in depth, won't it?
Yes, it does. It does explain that. It also explains why people think there isn't a real person. So it looks at it from both angles. All I'm going to say is there's no smoke without fire. You know, by the time you start to look at this, you've got to consider that the first poem he appears in, because he gets name checked in a poem, the poem linguistically can be dated back to probably about 600 AD, something like that. Well, he only died in 539. So that's not bad. Call it 540. You know, within 60 years, 70 years of his death, he's already been name checked in a poem. So you're pretty much bang on there. You're into the kind of timescales you're dealing with biblical material. Nobody questions that because it was written while some of the characters were still alive. So, you know, you're pretty jolly close with some of the source material. When you start digging in, but the original guy, the kind of the Dark Age warrior who was never a king, he was a Duke of Battles. The king was probably Melvin Gwynedd, but he worked as a warrior hero. You know, when you actually get into him, you know, he's married 3 times. All his kids are dead before he is. You know, it's a proper, real miserable Dark Age. You know, this guy's basically a thug. He even attacks his own people. So he's not a heroic character. You know, he's a kind of a womanizing battle leader. So when you start getting back to the real Arthur, all of a sudden it starts making sense. You know, you can pick out the bones of a real character. It's still there just about, but this bloke in shining armor that runs around in movies nowadays, it's just nonsense. You know, it's all Norman myth. It is literally mythology, but the book is gritty. You know, it's gritty and hard hitting, and you can see the characters. You know, for the first time ever.
Before we forget, could you show us the book again? Anyone who's recently joined the show tonight, just to see how thick and big the book is.
That's your cover, and it's 488 pages, but you don't have to read the last bit if you don't want to. The last bit's all about source material, and it's a really easy read. It's not heavy in any way, shape, or form. It's written in plain English, plain language. Any quotes from anywhere are translated for you. So there's no silly numbers with footnotes and please refer to a giant thing at the back. None of that. You can just read it straightforward, which I think is actually doing Arthur justice. It's something that's been needed a long time. The best recommendation I can give, there's an Arthurian author that deals with medieval and UK material called John Matthews. He's extremely famous, and he's written a really good intro, a really good endorsement at the front end. So, yeah, there you go.
Good stuff. There we go. We've got a few more questions, Dave. I don't know if you want to start with Paul B. You can ask this one.
Fire away.
Paul B, where?
Scroll up a bit.
There's allegedly a treasure hidden in Geysers in Picardy.
Okay. Well, why is that
Britain? Is that I think Paul actually lives in Brittany.
Geysers is the place. Yeah.
God for your pronunciation.
Well, yeah. I presume they're referring there to Templar treasure, the Templar's treasure at Geysers. Yeah, possibly. That's all I'm going to say. I believe I think it's the one that's hidden in a tunnel that's got booby traps. Somebody tried to reach it, and they basically got hammered. The tunnels began to flood. Things began coming out of the walls and all sorts, so they stopped. They didn't go any further. But that's typical Templars, you know, booby trapping stuff. I think that's the legend they're referring.
I think you've just given away the next Indiana Jones film there, haven't you? Really?
Yeah. Basically that. Yeah, that's it.
You could write it.
Ange Sherwin says, "Isn't the Holy Grail supposed to be on Oak Island?" As are many things, Ange. As are many things.
Yeah.
But what are we finding up to now? Bits of wood.
Yes.
World's greatest metal detectorists and a lot of bits of wood.
Yeah, but it makes a lot of money as a series. So
hey, don't knock it. They're the same production company that does Ancient Aliens. So technically that's my boss. It's Prometheus. But hey, you know,
they're also the same.
I agree.
They're also the ones who've lost Treasures of the Knights Templar, and they don't speak very highly of them.
I like the person in the chat who's just put, Keith Ellis. Sorry, sweetheart, I'm busy working here. Be down in 20 minutes, and he's got put another message. Oh God, sorry guys. Is he in Gareth Howard's loft?
Let's just put that on the screen. He is. He's up Gareth Howard's loft.
With Gareth Howard. Gareth Howard is one of our viewers who's regularly in the show, Mark, and he has a collection of, how can I put it, artistic magazines from the 90s that he collected. And they're around his parents' loft, and he's uses it as like security if ever he's single again. So it sounds like Keith Ellis is up in Gareth Howard's loft. So please, both of you, be careful coming down. Gareth or Keith, hold the ladder for each other when you come down. Make sure you turn the light off and tidy up.
Just pray the ceiling doesn't collapse when his parents are around, you know.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine that? Yeah, he was killed by his mum. Yeah, his trousers around his ankles. I don't know what he's doing. But, sorry, we move on.
Quickly.
Dave, it's that time of war.
Book wars. I better get my book out, hadn't I? Let me get my book out. Have you got your book out?
Yeah, I've got my book out. It's not a magazine.
You sure you've got your book out?
Yeah, I've got it in my lap.
Do you know, having Mark on the show, I didn't even see the time.
No, I know. And that's why I said if I bumped into Mark in a pub, it would be the housing manager would go mental. I'm just popping down the pub for a quick drink. 4 hours later, 10 pints later, and I'll be coming home going, do you know what? And telling all these stories. But anyway.
And you'd be on Amazon the entire time you were there as well.
Yeah, I'd bankrupt myself. Mark's book, those who are watching, I don't know if you want to make it big for me, Dave, because you like doing that. If you've got your mobile phone, if you're watching it on your telly or your laptop or on YouTube Repeat, scan that QR code there, and that will take you to Mark's book, which he's been discussing tonight on the show. And it sounds a fantastic, cracking read. And it'll also be available on audio book soon, in a month or so, for those who can't read.
Aren't you dead pretty and big?
Sorry, I've just seen Mark. Gareth Howard's just put he would hold the ladder for Keith Ellis, but he only has one hand available.
Oh dear, this is going downhill fast.
Mark, 2-3 weeks ago, it went all the way down.
Oh, yeah. Dearie me.
Right, Mark, it's your job to choose a page number.
Okay.
It's Adrian.
Sorry. I was just picturing his mum and dad downstairs going, you two are right up there. Sorry.
How are you doing, lads? Down, you.
Tony Kaywood's up there as well.
I have to play that when Adrian has the giggles. Right. So, Book Wars, round 1. 50 Finds of Cheshire beat the Technical Malarkey of Adrian's. Week 2, Advanced Detecting beat British Artifacts Volume 2. Last week, what you won again? What was it called? Last week's book? I've not written down. Adrian's book beat Cloth Seals.
Oh. Hey up.
Roman coinage of Britain.
That was
it. Roman coinage of Britain. Yes, sorry. I had to go and check. And this week, bit of a different one for me. 4th edition. I'll tell everyone it's got 850 odd pages, and it's I don't know how much it is. It's a hardback. It's A5. It's 850 odd pages, and it costs. Oh, it's not cheap. It's £31.95, but it's more of a reference book.
Can I just point out that the Polychronicon of Merlin, Joseph and Arthur is actually cheaper than that.
It is.
But then it's 850 pages.
But it's half the size. So you probably get the same amount.
Yes.
Get the same amount of text.
Yeah.
In twice the number of pages. Yeah. So I bet the words are about the same.
Yeah. Well, my book is, I'd say, 230 pages, and there's obviously all the bump at the back, and it's £17.70 on Amazon as we speak. So, Mark, can you choose a number between, let's say, 10 and 200, please?
Okay, let's have 123.
2, 3. Adrian, it's your book, so you go first.
I'm trying to find. Right. Well, I think it says what it is really. Celtic horse and rider fittings, strap junction 40mm, 2 opposed crescents with mounting bars, 120 to 180 pounds. Strap junction 45mm, 2 opposed crescents with mounting bars, 150 200 pounds. I could go on. It's basically strap junction 75mm, 3 ring, lower ring broken, stylized ball head, rare, 150 to 200 pounds broken, 400 600 intact. Where else would you find someone talking about strap junctions at this time of night?
Indeed. On to mine. Excuse me. As the shining new PAS train gets to leave the station without any baggage, it will be mainstream, forward-thinking detector users, archaeologists, historians, and the like that are on board, leaving behind those that cannot see further than their noses or very old prejudices. There will be losers while we are debating our passion, the finds, the landscapes, the meanings, the putting flesh on our past. The others, both detector user and archaeologist, will be left standing on the platform in a time warp with outdated ideologies and misconceptions, shouting abuse at each other and probably us. So, go. Which was the best book?
Go, as Mike Reed would say.
Yeah. Phil it will.
Yeah.
Mark wins this week. The Polychronicon.
Yeah, well, Mike's
Hey!
yeah, Mark's book might be 1, 2.
No.
Oh, if I
This
win
was
this
dead
one, does that mean I've
boring.
won all of them?
No, you won 3. It was 3-1.
this
I
is
need
for-
to win, so it got 2-2.
Someone's feeling sorry for you now. I think some people know what I'm reading.
Oh.
Peter Kelly,
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
2-2.
Keith Ellis, and
Come on. Keep them coming. Whose book was
Keith
the best?
Ellis and Gareth
Book
Howard
Wars.
might not be down from the loft. They might still be.
Oh,
Dave.
another 2.
That's because he's a Dave.
Those 2 me's there.
For 3 days.
Oh, no, yeah. 4.
Dave.
5 me. 5 for me.
A lot of people have probably
6
got my
for
book
me.
anyway, so
Yeah.
if you're a detectorist, you've probably got it.
Dave's looked here by the sound of it.
Oh, me again.
Yeah.
John Lydell, Dave.
Ooh.
Oh, Ray, top man.
Ooh.
Oh dear.
6-5.
Horse tacket. Nice one, Anne.
Ah,
Horse
oh,
tacket.
7-5. Thank you, Keith. Welcome back from the
He's loft.
laugh.
It was only 20 minutes. He said, "Love."
And I am calling it. So,
Well,
Adrian,
hang on. We have a slight delay. Just wait a second.
I'm calling it. Adrian, what was your book this week?
My book. Oh, there you go. Let's see a few come in. My book this week was Bennett's 4th edition Artifacts of England and the United Kingdom. Current Values. Big book. Not something that I predominantly
Can
use for
read.
research, but when I find something, an artifact or something which I'm sort of like, oh, that's nice, I'll occasionally look at the value. These are taken from, I can't remember the name of the company. I've forgotten the name now, but from an actual auction house, current values. So it gives you an idea. If anything, they're probably a little low because since COVID and recent times with our hobby, a lot of things have gone up in value hugely, especially gold coins and rings. So yeah, it's a lovely little book. 30 odd quid, but that is like your detectorist Bible if you're interested in finding the value of your finds. Which
I've got
most
that here
of us,
as well. I've got it
yeah,
right next to me.
everyone has it. If you're new to the hobby and well, you want to. I mean, it's not just gold and silver. you've got access. It's a lot of interesting things in there. So, and I use it as I want to find one of them, not because it's worth 200 quid, 300 quid, 400 quid, but purely because I didn't know they existed. So, yeah, that's my book. Greenlight Publishing, Detective Media, or Amazon. And did you write that? Oh,
it is by Susie Thomas and Peter G. Stone. And it was written for the International Centre for Cultural and Heritage Studies at Newcastle University. Fantastic book. Looks at the portable antiquity scheme, treasure trove, metal detecting Ireland, Wales, building bridges between metal detectorists and archaeologists, numismatics, and then it goes into different, the Cumwitten Norse burial, Warnborough revisited, a lot of archaeological stuff in there and things that archaeologists and metal detectorists have done together. And that is by Bodell Press. And it's available on Amazon at £17.70. So next week, Adrian, we've got 4 books in the semi-finals. 50 Finds of Cheshire, Advanced Detecting, Roman Coinage of Britain, and Metal Detecting and Archaeology.
And the metal detecting technical book that you keep forgetting as well.
No, that's not gone through.
Oh, no, it didn't, did it?
I beat that.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I'm still going to show it because it's a good book. Andrew said in the chat, yes, it is like Sphinx, but for artifacts. I'm trying to think.
And just go and get it. You know you want it. You know you like books. We know you like books. Go over to Detective Media and buy the book.
It's got loads. I love it. I love just looking at it. To think all that stuff that's been unearthed by people in our hobby, and otherwise it would have just sat there in the ground and no one would have known about it. Anyway, we has anyone got any?
Wayne Rowlands, Adrian and Dave. After the show, could you gents send me your address, please? Made you something special in the man cave. Very much appreciated, Wayne.
Thank you.
Wayne's been on the show. Absolutely fantastic boxes and finds display things, hasn't he?
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Talking of that, this month's Treasure Hunting magazine, I did a write-up on a range of products that aren't made by big global companies. They're made by predominantly, they are metal detectorists in our hobby. And I think it's had a huge response. And I know Monarch Designs, who 3D prints the casket that was shown on the Detectorist, actually under license from the company who did it for the BBC. I think he's shutting down for 3 weeks because he's got so many orders. But
did you see the Detectorist Christmas special, Mark?
No, but I believe was it Alice Roberts that was on there, Professor Alice Roberts. So
yeah. Well, there's a casket that the part of it which contained the Holy Grail, which was getting transported. They found the Holy Grail at the box. But the box that was made was made by a proper jeweler. It's absolutely stunning. Yeah. And the guy from Monarch, he's got the agreement from the company. He's 3D printed it, and they're absolutely spot on, isn't it, Adrian?
I think he's inundated with orders, and the other people on there. It's like I was saying, we all want to support everyone in this hobby, but there are people in their shed knocking things up, like tonight in the cold, and knocking it out on Facebook, eBay, or whatever. I think we should support
Gareth and Keith's case knocking it off.
But no. If anyone's got any more. Someone's who said that? Is that Andrew Elliott? Yes, that is the 4th edition. So, lovely book.
Wayne's company is called Box It. If anybody wants to go and have a look at that on Facebook, Box It.
Yeah, or if you've got, there's Box It, Treasure It, and there's other ones, isn't there, as well?
So you can do a bit of
review.
They're
friends, actually.
You can do a Box It review, can't you, in Treasure Hunters magazine? Brilliant.
Yeah. If you've got on the show, if you want to come on the show and you make a leather pouch for your shaft or something like that of your detector, and you want to show it, come on the show, and we'll more than happily show it to all the 3 people that watch.
Yes,
but yeah,
4.
Oh yeah, because Mark
got up to 4 now.
Yeah.
Mark might watch it. Yeah.
And has anyone got any questions for Mark?
Yeah.
Yes. One we had earlier, Mark. I know the answer to this.
Okay.
They ask if you use a metal detector, which you don't. You have.
Well, my dad actually bought in 1974 one of the first metal detectors to come out from a metal detecting company in Manchester, and I actually used it for a bit, and I think I found a horseshoe and a few nails and a battery and a few other bits and bobs, and it just, for me, it just didn't work. It didn't gel, because I'm a down a hole with a trowel guy. That kind of, that's where I was. And again, when I came back to detecting, which was in the 1990s or whatever, I started using metal detectors as part of an archaeological team. The technology had just moved on to such a great extent, and you guys had all become experts, so I couldn't really compete with that. I've got a guy walking along with this thing that just goes ooh, and and he says, oh, that's it's a gold ring, it's about 10 inches down, and I'm like, how do you work that out from a noise? How do you do that? And that's before they had the analytical ones that they've got now, which basically do most of that for you. Some of these guys, their ears were like bats. You know what I mean? They could home in like radar on whatever was on the end of their detector. So I thought, I can't compete with this. I'll just bring in the experts. So that's what I did. So I'm a huge fan of metal detecting and ground radar and all the other technology that we use as archaeologists, but I just never got round to really cracking it as an individual. It never really gelled with me, but it doesn't mean I wasn't there at the beginning. I was there at the beginning.
No,
go on.
Gareth Howard says, I'd just like Dave and Adrian to know that I've just acquired an SOS talisman that I will wear around my wrist in case I ever have an accident, that just simply reads, Mom, please don't look in the loft.
Oh, very, very wise. Yeah.
And for those of you, again, who haven't met Mark before or seen Mark before, he did mention a ring then, and it's a story I'll always bring up in any of our shows because it is related to metal detecting. One of the sites that we did was Manley Old Hall near Frodsham in Cheshire. And you brought some metal detectorists onto site to do a survey, and you had quite a significant find.
Yes, we did. I'm probably famous for being the archaeologist that never found anything that was worth anything. I mean, I find tons of stuff. Give me wood, leather, stone, you name it. I even found an Anglo-Saxon castle, but that doesn't, it's not gold or silver. It's not worth anything. And then I'm working on this dig, Manley Old Hall, and this metal detector chap, friend of mine, walks over and he goes, I found something. I need to come to your house tomorrow and show you. And he showed me where he'd found it, at the bottom of this telegraph pole and all that. He's like, I found something, but I can't show you now, because it was right at the end of the day. It always is. Everyone's walking back to the cars and he's swinging his detector and it goes, boo, and off he goes. He digs it, because you dig every signal. That's the motto, So he dug this, and the next day, it's this medieval gold ring. It's just an immaculate piece of workmanship, absolutely phenomenal. It's got a pyramidal black diamond in the top of it. It's got engravings all the way around it. It's got a motto on it. It's E3 stars, E3 stars, E is across the bottom of it. Anyway, it becomes an interesting story, because that went off obviously to the coroner, to treasure trove and all that, and they made him a silly offer, so he said no. So they made him another silly offer, so he said no. So eventually it went to auction, and it went for 84,000 quid. And this thing's tiny. I mean, honestly, when he put it in the palm of my hand, I'll never forget that, because I just broke sweat instantly. He found it on the Saturday. He was in my front room on the Sunday morning with it. Absolutely incredible find. And of course, half of that went to him, and half of it went to the landowner. I think you're talking 1990s for that.
Wow, £84,000 in like 30 years ago, isn't it now? So I think a 1990 is like 5 years ago, but it's not.
No.
But yeah, crikey. Yeah,
the Manley ring, absolutely phenomenal find, incredible.
I found the story. I'm just trying to find the pictures.
Find a date. Oh, the pictures are incredible if you can find them. But Yeah, and try and find the date, because I seem to remember it as being late 1990s by the time it went through the coroner. But it could be early 2000s.
Just got another question. Yeah. Has Mark ever come across dinosaur bones in his digs and adventures, like a woolly rhinoceros, or for example?
Well, the bizarre answer to that is actually yes. We were digging on what could only be described as a sort of a English Civil War period farm site, which had developed over a period of several hundred years. And we were looking at the ornamental garden. We were digging up part of the garden section. And there's this whopping great big rock on top of the wall. And I'm walking across, shutting down for the winter, because we don't dig during the winter on this site. And the sun is just at a certain angle. And I can see what appears to be a handprint in the top of this sandstone block. Turns out it's one of the famous Chirotherium prints, the handprint beast as it's known, or labyrinthodon is the technical term for it, and it's a Cheshire dinosaur, and it's a footprint. So I picked this thing up because it's a portable block of sandstone, take it to Liverpool Museum, and the experts at Liverpool Museum say, no, actually, it could be a new species of dinosaur that they've not seen before. Because there were differences in the footprint. So, yeah, I've had dinosaur remains. Yeah, I've had stuff like that come up. That's the ring. There you go.
That is absolutely beautiful.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. It's a phenomenal find.
I can't find a better picture than that.
Well, you can see basically that on the top of it, it's got the little black pyramid with a sort of an open work bracket, if you like, that holds it. Then you've got 4 dots round it, which are where you could use it to pray. So you've got like 4 prayer things, but between the dots, those channels originally, that's better. Those channels would have been filled with white enamel. So you've got black at the top and 2 sides of white enamel, and then across the bottom is open basket work, and that's got what's it, Loymute Sonzain, which means wisdom without age is difficult to interpret or something in Norman French. And then it's got the E3 stars E is around the bottom, but black and white are Templar colours. So just an amazing thing.
Am I right in saying it was a bishop's ring it was found to be, wasn't it?
They believe so. They believe it was lost by a bishop that was on the road heading for Norton Priory, which is at the other end away from Manly. You know, it's at the other end of the road. So from Chester to Norton Priory, the road goes through the middle of Manly, and it looks like it was what they call a glove ring, and it was lost. It fell off. But absolutely incredible. I mean, the E3 stars E, that was there was a possibility that was 1334. It's Edward. You know, it's Edward III, which fits quite well. But actually, some of the ring looks older. So, you know, difficult to say exactly. I personally dated it to somewhere in the Norman era. So it's either 12th, 13th or 14th century.
I found a bishop's ring 3.5 years ago, and I'm still awaiting it to be returned. Not as nice as that, but it is nice. But I can't wait to get it back. It's just because they used to wear them just here, didn't they? Just here. Yeah. So how we wear rings here, they just use this finger ring on the glove.
Yeah. So on your hand, you'd have a number of rings, and each ring would have a significance. In fact, in some cases, they wore them on the thumb as well. You get bigger rings that fit the thumb, and they all have different significance. But that one's particularly well made. Absolutely breathtaking.
I've got it still on my screen on the side.
It's just.
It doesn't look like it has been worn much either, does it?
No, there was no significant damage to it. But I mean, on the way down to that, it was a lesson in metal detecting. On the way down to that were all the offcuts from them putting the telegraph pole up and joining all the wires on and stuff like that. So he had to dig through quite a number of minor signals to hit a major signal, and that's what he got. It was over 18 inches below the ground. It's over 1.5 feet down. And
this is interesting you say this because I think I read something. There's a book I've got about metal detectors. And people were finding stuff down sort of 12, 18 inches 30 years ago with metal detectors. And yet recently, people in the hobby are like, oh, yeah, that was 12 inches down. That was 10. The technology's all been there. It is down to the skill of using the machine. And I think with the recent technology where you get almost like a 3D image of your machine or of you find, or you get, this is a good signal, this is a bad signal, this is what it sounds like. It's almost made people lazy from listening to the tones, and they're relying on the screen. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like, I don't know, you buy a packet of fish fingers and it says...
Photobomb.
Oh, yeah, it's not.
That's Stampy, my cat. He wanders in and out, and usually
Stampy's
comes
cat.
across the front like that. You know what I mean? You've got this tail normally.
He generally sleeps in his beard.
He's going for it now because the radiator's on, so he always tends to intrude. So for cat lovers everywhere, I give you.
You got it all on here.
Yeah, we've
got it all on here.
I think when you're talking about metal detector finds as well, ground conditions are really important. You know, if the ground conditions are conductive, if they're not too dry or too wet, then you'll get better depth. You know, that's an important consideration.
A good frost. You want a good frost.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But who asked that question? Oh yeah, Steve Brain. What is your favourite archaeological site? And I'm going to ask that not as in a general term, but as in a personal term of the sites that you've managed or been active on. What was your favourite site?
Well, I mean, I started off when I was training with Liverpool on Norton Priory. So you've got the biggest monastic dig that's ever taken place in Europe. So, you know, is me as a young trainee teenager digger, and I'm digging away on a skeleton, you know, and I kind of look up and there's 130 odd skeletons exposed, you know, and that just blows the mind. It's unbelievable because it's a Templar preceptory as well. You know, it's an Augustinian priory, it's Welsh Templar. So that's where I started. I started on sites like that back in the 1980s, early 1980s. Late 70s, early 80s. So that was just, you know, but I mean, that one we did at Glenarman was particularly significant, but for different reasons. You were constantly bombarded with different information. You know, every time we went down there, somebody was like, cave, fort, well, you know, medieval house, you know, English Civil War site. You know, it's like, whoa, you know, and it's all in that valley. It's all in that same area. So that was
air crash.
Air crash, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, metal detectors.
DMV.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I always remember me and you climbing on top of the cave to the top of the hill and looking down in the adjacent field and seeing all the porch marks of the roundhouses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mark, what? Roundhouses. And you know, Adrian, we got permission to detect them, but we couldn't find anything because of the air crash that was on there. It was scattered with rivets and air parts.
Yeah, it was. It was. Apparently, it wasn't even Second World War. I think this plane took off. It was a Second World War plane, but I think it blew up in the early 1950s. It was an aerial explosion in 51 or 52, and the fragments rained down on this particular field. So it was this coating of it's Second World War aircraft, but it wasn't a Second World War air crash. People in the village remember hearing this enormous bang and seeing this ball of fire going down. So I mean, yeah, literally everything from picking up prehistoric flints to, you know, an ice age stuff coming out the cave right the way up to this 1950s bomber. You know, it's just, whoa, what a sight, you know. So we have,
it had one of the best pubs ever there as well. It's closed now, but the Raven was one of the best pubs ever.
Yeah, and this liqueur called Black Mountain, this Welsh liqueur was amazing. So I got a bit of a taste for that. So people did actually sit in the pub and talk to me for hours. So yeah.
And then we walked down the hill. We basically camped all weekend on site. So we had all the tents alongside the river, Yal.
It was
like there, all sleeping there, and then drinking up at the pub, rolling down, cooking breakfast by the river, eating your breakfast straight into the archaeological dig. Meters from you.
That's serious archaeology. That's what it's all about, you know.
And I found out the world's best archaeologist there as well. Chickens. Scratching
away all the stuff that chickens throw up, and moles are the other one. If they get any obstacles in their if you see archaeologists walking along kicking molehills, it's because the moles chuck all the stuff out that gets in the way. So you find all kinds of. I've had an Ice Age scraping tool off a molehill. So if you see us kicking molehills, it's just to see what the moles have chucked out. You know, it's.
What about badgers?
Badgers, yeah, well, it depends because they dig a lot deeper than moles. Moles go through the kind of the topsoil, but badgers go deeper, so it depends where they're digging. But yes, badgers will do that. You know,
see, Adrian, they're not all bad.
No.
One last question from Ange Sherwin. For those of you who don't know, Mark used to host a TV show dressed basically as a mix of pirate and Van Helsing.
Absolutely.
It was called Lost Treasures. It was absolutely brilliant. Llanarmon Yell actually appears in one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Is it ever going to be available to watch on DVD?
Actually, season 1, which has the Llanarmon episode in it, I think it was episode 2 of the ones that were broadcast. So that season was actually released on DVD. So somebody somewhere out there's got it. You know, there's hundreds of these DVDs out there somewhere. So you may just be able to pick that one up on something like Amazon in the second-hand section. Occasionally they come up, that was released. But season 2 only went out on ITV and Sky. And then season 3 only went out on ITV. And none of them, apart from episode 1, none of them have been uploaded yet. Because I must admit, we're so far down the line now that I think if I uploaded them to YouTube, I don't think ITV would take them down. I think they would leave them. It's vintage television now. So I personally, I'm going to get to the point where I'm like, you know, I can't be bothered. Let's get them all 22 episodes up. So the answer to a question is sooner or later they will still appear. There's lots of clips. You can find clips of Lost Treasures.
Yeah,
on
all
the
over
internet.
YouTube.
Yeah, just put in Mark Olly, put me in, and then put Lost Treasures. Otherwise, you get Mark and Ollie, which are two guys that wander around the jungle somewhere. It's bizarre, but anyway.
It's interesting though, because they seem to repeat things like Minder and the Sweeney, whereas stuff like Arthur C. Clarke and things like that, it just it's not there. But yeah,
I've got to tell you the reason why they don't repeat it is because we were on a technological changeover. So season 1 we were talking about this off air at the beginning. Season 1's 14:2, so it's the old format television in low resolution. Then season 2 is 16:4, which is the widescreen, and that's still in reasonably low resolution, but it's heading towards HD. And then season 3 is full screen, full HD, Nikon stereo. So when you try and put all 3 seasons together, it's just impossible. You know what I mean? They are essentially freestanding. There's nothing we can do about that. It's very unlikely they'll ever repeat the first series because it's low resolution. But I'd like to see series 3. Nobody's really seen that third series. It'd be great because some of the episodes in that are the best we ever did.
Do you know, Mark, I didn't actually know about the programme when I was at my in-laws' house on a Sunday night. And, come and look at this. And I went in and I went, that's Mark Olly.
I must admit, back in the past, I was never any good at blowing my own trumpet. So a lot of people kind of missed out on that. I mean, I did mention it on Facebook and stuff like that, but I still forget, you know. I mean, the latest one's Ancient Aliens. You know, I think there's something like, it's season 15. I think they do about 12 programs and I'm on 4 of them, I think, in the next series. So keep your eyes on Blaze. Because that's where they go on the UK.
You also did the one about the Aberystwyth UFO crash DVD.
Yes, you can find that. That's Europe's Roswell. And I'm totally banned from telling you that the book version of that's coming out through Philip later in the year. Oh, dear. Oh, I've gone and dropped it now because I'm not supposed to promote the next book till I promoted the previous one. So,
am I right in saying the History Channel also produced one about the Roman...
Oh, you're doing extremely well here. Yeah, when we were doing Lost Treasures, Sky History Channel commissioned a couple of extra programs, and we did one on Chester, which was Rome's Lost Mega Fortress, I think it's called.
That's the one, yeah. That's it.
That one. Again, there's DVDs out there. If you can find them secondhand, they will be out there because that was released on DVD.
Boot sales, definitely.
Yeah.
We have. I'd like to thank Owen Bailey for his kind comments. Mark Olly, Dave, and Adrian. Before we end tonight, I just want to express my appreciation to you all. Mark, amazing to hear from you. David and Adrian, a big thanks for what you're doing for our community.
Thank you.
We only do it because we enjoy it, and we enjoy having a chat, and we, hearing things back from people. We put something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago. We got a hell of a lot of nice comments, and it makes it all worthwhile. When I was out the weekend meeting people, again, they were saying that the show, they enjoy it. I only thought there was 4 people, 5 people watch, but it turns out like
It's
people
11.
actually watch 11, 12.
11.
Yeah.
And 4 of
So we
those
do
don't speak
appreciate
English.
all your kind words. We do appreciate you sharing the show, coming back. And as I've said 1,000 times before, if you ever want to be a guest, just give me a shout and we'll sort something out. No problem.
Or you know it gets.
I was going to say, can I stick a quick plug in? Metal detectorists in general, for some reason, the clubs don't seem to be booking me to do talks anymore, which I, as an archaeologist, I'm delighted to come out and appear. And, you know, like you said earlier on, King Arthur's there as a talk. There's a lot of other talks as well. I do about 30 odd different ones. I'd be delighted if some metal detector clubs want to contact me. Get me on Facebook, get me on Messenger, and just drop me a line, because I'd love to start doing clubs again. It's kind of died out after COVID, you know, post-COVID and that. But I'd love to get out there, and I'll do finds identification and stuff like that. You can bring stuff in when I'm there. So,
well, I know,
you know,
John Clayton actually, he used to do talks at his group. He's put on earlier on.
Yeah.
Steve Barnett says, Mark Olly, guess who's going to be binge watching? Pete Kelly, another amazing show. It's what Thursday night is all about. Absolutely.
Sod Emmerdale. Got nothing. Well, I don't know what Brookside, or I don't know what's Crossroads.
Brookside's back on STV if you want to watch that from the start.
Crossroads, or you know,
who needs soaps when you got us?
Yeah. But,
Valley Rallies asked how I got detecting. Technically, 4 silver.
Next week we will talk about that, and
we will.
I will talk about. We can have our detecting days. I might do some videos this weekend or next weekend.
Do it. And we want anybody who wants to. It was South Lancs and Cheshire Metal Detecting Club, John Clayton's club.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to send in any shorts for on the show. As I say, I've got 5 1 to 2 minute videos just showing you people's finds, what have you. If you any club digs, anything like that, please send them over. We'd love to have them. And next week we will also be Book Wars semi-final.
Yeah.
Mark, as ever, can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
My order's already in. I was ordering it earlier when I found it.
Well done.
Make it big, Dave.
Make it big. Make it big.
Make it big.
Mark's book. Those who've just joined the show, go on Amazon, look at the book. It's fantastic. 400 odd pages. Me and Dave will be getting it. We get 90% commission for every sale. You told Mark that, didn't you, Dave?
No, it's Philip Mantle I've spoke to. It's nothing to do with Mark, this one.
Oh, right.
Going above Mark on this level.
Yeah, but scan the QR code, and if not, it'll be on our ArkMD. ArkMD Mag going to have a...
Yes, we're going to be putting some links and what have you on that. And
I'm going to stick a quick plug in as well. I mean, King Arthur and all the rest of it, the beauty of any of the books I write is it tells you where things are. So again, from a metal detectorist perspective, if you want, you know, to go and ask the farmers permission for new sites, you might end up with some new sites out of it. So definitely.
Yes, because you've got research, and farmers love that. That was a question I was going to ask about the book is, can it help me find stuff? And yes, of course it can.
Yes, it
will. So yeah, and if you turn up with that book and show pictures and illustrations and history, farmers love all that. So yeah, it's a good book for that. So definitely 100% there.
Those of you in the southeast, if you watch Meridian News tomorrow night, our guest in a couple of weeks, Steve Tomlinson, will have a fascinating new find appearing on there.
It's Meridian, southeast. I'm Anglia. Is it above me then?
No, he said southeast, Meridian. I'm sure he's Thames.
I thought it was Birmingham.
No, that's central. Yeah, I don't know, but someone will know. Anyway, Adrian, it's about 48 minutes past our normal time here. So
wow.
Oh, wow.
It's not really the 6 minute play. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure.
As always.
Adrian, love you to bits. And I'm going detecting on Saturday again with Shane and Steve.
I'm going Sunday.
Brand new site. Very exciting.
What, you've got a new site, or have I got a new site?
We have.
I've got a field that had nothing in it, and at the top of the field, lots of medieval stuff. So it's not too far from the site, I found something nice the other week, so I'm going to hammer that
Mark,
this week.
Mark, I found my first treasure the other week. I'll send you the picture.
Oh yeah,
please
you did.
do. Yeah, please do.
Talk about that next week.
I'm always jealous because I never find any treasures.
It's my first woohoo in all these years.
You are a treasure, Mark. You are a treasure.
A national one.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Adrian. Good night.
Pleasure.